Hello. Introduction. Hello, my name is Gray Splaffy, and in this video I'm gonna be reviewing Ultimate Spider-Man 1 Volumes 1 and 2 from like 2000. Not the new one, the old one that I've seen get a lot of hate, but I don't really know why. I don't think people actually hate it that much. I don't really read comic books, but I wanted to try to get into them. So, yeah. First, I'm gonna do a little intro into me and my history with Spider-Man and comic books, and then we'll get into the review. Boom. Uh, Transition shot. Oh. So, what is my history with Spider-Man and comic books? If you don't really care about this, you can skip it. I don't really care. But for the people that I know and like me, you might want to listen to this. And I'll love you. So, I guess I'll start with comic books. When I was a little young lad, I remember for Christmas one year, Santa got me and my sister a lot of random comic books from the local half-price bookstore. And I think I only really read like two of them. I looked them up recently. But they gave my Santa gave me like 20 or 30. And of course there's only one Spider-Man one in there, and it was Superior Spider-Man Team Up number 8. Now, while I was writing this script, I was in my biostats class, so I barely remembered anything about it. I still don't really remember anything about it. I remember that Spider-Man was kind of weird, but I kind of know what Superior Spider-Man is about. It's where it's like Doc Ock is in his body, so it'd probably be a bad intro for a kid. And then he was teaming up with Namor to like fight a octopus, and I didn't have any idea who Namor was. I probably just thought it was Aquaman, but I remember liking that one because it was Spider-Man, so that was cool. The second comic book that I remember reading a lot was Silver Surfer number 40 from like the 80s, or I think 80s. I remember I read it a bunch, like the pages are falling off. I don't know if I'll have a picture of it on the screen, probably not. But so I at least read it like 3 times because it was that old crappy like paper comic books. Um, and I looked back at it last summer. I definitely didn't read it at all. I just looked at the pictures, which were cool. I've always liked that cool spacey stuff, and that's probably why I always like the cool spacey stuff. Um, I have no idea what the Silver Surfer comics were even about, though. Like, when I was looking back at that comic, I was with my ex at the time, and she thought one of the guys was Doctor Strange, and we looked it up, and the guy's name was like the Guy, or like Super Guy Man or something. It was weird. Everybody had robes on. He was like a prisoner, but that was cool, I guess. But besides that, I never really read that many comic books. I kind of stopped reading them afterwards. My parents got me a lot of like Super Dinosaur, which was an Image Comics run about like dinosaurs in like Evangelion mech suits, which was really cool. I liked that a lot. It was really awesome. But yeah, I've never really read comic books before. I kind of not recently, a few years ago, got into like anime and manga, and I've been reading a lot of manga, so I was like, well, how about comic books? Give the old Western version a try. So, so despite never really reading comic books that much, I always stayed a fan of superheroes. Um, Even now to my early adulthood, I've always enjoyed superhero stuff. I played that one Marvel mobile game for a really long time. I played Marvel Rivals with my friend for a bit, and I've always watched the movies, of course. Not really the new ones as much. Not that good. I'm just not really that interested. But Spider-Man's always been my favorite superhero. Even now, as like a 20-year-old biology major, the dream is to work in a biolab where they have radioactive spiders and I get superpowers. Go save people, that'll be cool. So, but that's really my history of the comic books. But what about Spider-Man? Why do I like Spider-Man so much? I'll try to keep this short, but he's been one of my favorite superheroes, except for a little minute around my senior year of high school, so like 3 or 4 years ago, where I liked Wolverine. I got the sideburns, so what are you gonna do? Easy Halloween costume, but I'm back on the Spider-Man train now. I've really always loved how he's not that strong. He kind of sucks compared to most superheroes, unless he's like locked in. Apparently, I keep seeing that. But he's he's a big old brain to beat superheroes, which is cool. But other or beat supervillains. But other superheroes do that too. Iron Man, all this, all that. But really the best thing about him is like the pure willpower. How he's never gonna let anybody die. How, he'll tough it out. That comic book panel of him like stuck under all the rubble, lifting up like the building so he could go. I don't even know what he's doing in that one, but like go save Aunt May. Put that on the screen, editor Trey. Transition to that. But yeah, I've never read any comic book Spider-Man series. I watched the Disney XD show, which I think was Ultimate Spider-Man when I was a kid. I've seen all the movies. Tobey Maguire's the best Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. I like the Amazing Spider-Man suit the most. I'm excited for the new Spider-Man movie. That'll be cool. I don't like how Tom Holland is like a nepo baby. That was kind of lame. But now that he's like broke and everybody hates him, that'll be cool. But yeah, I've never read any Spider-Man comic book series, so I'm going in pretty much totally blind. I've picked up some stuff off of like Instagram Reels about what the Spider-Man comics are like, but I've never read or seen a lot about Ultimate Spider-Man. And I heard on Reddit that it was easier to get into than the original, which I tried to get into the original X-Men a while back, and it's hard. The writing kind of is weird. There's a lot of words. I'd read a book if I wanted that. And I do like the art style of Ultimate Spider-Man. I think it's pretty cool, even though my friend Jess hates it. But whatever. What are you gonna do? But I am really excited to get into this. And one second to last thing. You can blame my Nana for making me like Spider-Man. She's like OG Spider-Man fan, big time. Her and my poppy always read comic books. And my Nana, I think she told me she used one of her vacation days at her like old government job when the original Spider-Man movie came out, just so she could go see it on opening day, which is really awesome. And one last thing before we get into it. I don't know if I'll stick to this kind of video or anything like it, but I'm currently working on a big video which I got burnt out on. I'm trying this out because my grandma, who I was very close with, passed away a few weeks ago, and the last thing I said to her was that I was starting to read again, and she said good. So I want to try to hold true to that. So these videos will kind of be a way to keep me accountable for making or reading more, whether it's comic books or real books, which I am reading one right now. It's pretty good. I think I'll say something about it at the very end of the video. But yeah, I'm going to keep on reading and try to make reviews about stuff I enjoy, because I like having a little creative outlet. So yeah, let's go into the first section of the video about Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1. Hello again. I had to re-record this entire section because I didn't realize that it was a fly on my monitor. I didn't realize that it was being all choppy and everything, so I apologize for that. But we're gonna move on now again for me. This is kind of annoying. But we're gonna move on to the actual review itself. So I want to start with Volume 1. Now, since I've already recorded this entire thing, I might speed through some things that I don't feel like need as much time. But to start, I really, really enjoy this. I like the art style. I like all the characters. I mean, I just like everything about it so far. I guess the best place to start with a Spider-Man review would be Uncle Ben dying. And I've heard that he dies a lot later in this comic run than other comic runs, like the original. I think he just dies in a flashback in like 5 pages. But in this version, we get like 5 issues with Uncle Ben, which I like a lot because we kind of get to like know the guy, get to see how he's like a cool guy. He's got a ponytail. He's kind of like a BA, like a bad butt. Gotta stay clean, you know. But he's really nice to Peter and Aunt May. Whenever he gets mad at Peter, he's just more like, "Hey, think about how you're making Aunt May feel," which is pretty realistic for like a cool dad. There's even a note at the end of the first volume where the writer is talking about how his kids were coming up to him during the releases of issues like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and being like, "Please don't kill Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben's too cool. Please don't kill him." And excuse me. And I have to agree. I love him, so that makes his death even more like painful. And I think the depictions of grief in these comics as well are really, really well done. But before I get ahead of myself, I did want to talk about, the most classic Spider-Man thing, like the with great power comes great responsibility thing. So in this run of the comics, I don't know how it's done in other Spider-Man comics. I kind of know from the movies that the great power comes great responsibility speech, it's usually not very long, and it's usually pretty simple. But I really like how the Ultimate Spider-Man did it. So first of all, Uncle Ben runs in on, or he catches Peter after Peter runs away because he's mad at Aunt May and Uncle Ben, and he's like, "Think about how you're making Aunt May feel," and Peter's all angsty, of course. He's a teenage boy, and but Uncle Ben tries to phrase the little upcoming speech as like, "Your dad used to say this," and it's pretty cool hearing stuff about Peter's dad. That's something I'm going to bring up later, but I really do like how we get little tidbits about his father. But I'm going to read off here what Uncle Ben says, Peter's father says. "If there were things in this world that you had to offer, things that you did well, better than anyone else, things that you could do that helped people or made people feel better about themselves, well, he believed that it wasn't just a good idea to do those things. He believed it was your responsibility to do those things." End quote. So I'm a really big fan of how grounded this is. Instead of the original one always comes off to me as like, "What are you talking about, great power?" As the reader, it's like, I'm just a dude. What kind of great power do I have? But in this version, they kind of tell you bold-faced, like, "Hey, everyone can have great power." And before I dive too deep into that, I also want to mention how this really reminded me of Reagan's speech to Mob when he first meets Mob in Mob Psycho 100, which I'm going to play here for you now.
Listen, just because you have these psychic powers and abilities, it doesn't mean you're any less of a human than anyone else. There are people who are fast, people who are book smart, and people with strong body odor. Psychic powers are just like that, another characteristic. You must embrace that characteristic as a part of yourself and continue to live positively. After all, the truth behind one's charm is kindness. So just be a good person. You got it?
So both little speeches kind of just say like, hey, everyone's good at different things. No one's perfect at everything. We all have our own strengths. And that means we're all going to be a little better at something than somebody and a little worse at something than somebody else. So, all you really have to do is use your strengths to be kind to others because, I mean, that's all you can do. And I kind of try to live by that little by little each day. You know, Mob Psycho is like my favorite show of all time, so it's kind of it hits home. So yeah, I really liked this Great Responsibility speech. It feels a lot more grounded than the others, and yeah, I like the whole message of the only thing that really matters is you just trying to be nice to other people, trying to put positivity into the world, and whether that is complimenting someone's shoes at the gym or like beating up bad guys, you know, they're both important. So now moving into the actual meat and potatoes of the volume itself, I want to talk about the side characters. So before we get into the true meat and potatoes, I guess. In the first volume, I wasn't a massive fan of Aunt May. I kind of liked how she made Peter a bunch of banana bread. I don't remember why, but that was funny, I think. And she's kind of just like more of a hard ass than Uncle Ben to make Uncle Ben look cooler, you know? But I've read volume 2 now. I mean, I'm recording this after already editing the first part of the video. But I'll talk about her more in volume 2 cuz she definitely grows on me there. And then the only other real side characters are Peter's classmates at this point. Flash Thompson and Kong are pretty goofy. I guess Flash Thompson got like split into two people as Flash Thompson and Kong. Um, I really like Kong. Kong's really cool. I don't know why I love him so much, but he's just really easy to love. Maybe I just like him because he's like a big guy. So, but I love Kong. They have their classmate Liz, who tries to like get with Peter, and then MJ gets all mad about that. After everything that happens in Volume 2, I still don't know how she's still hanging around him. But then talking about MJ's really cool. I like that she's introduced as being Peter's friend. Like already. Like it seems like they've been friends for a while. They do homework together. They're both dorks. I really like that because it's not like, oh, once he gets the powers, he becomes confident and is able to woo the girl. And it's just like, no, he's a dork. She's a dork. You know, he doesn't need to be a super tough guy, but she does. I think she likes when he like beats up Flash or stands up for himself against Flash Thompson, because you know we all want to see that. But she also contributes to my favorite scene of the entire first volume, my favorite page of the entire first volume. When Peter gets home, he sees that Uncle Ben's dead. I don't know if at this point he realizes it's his fault. I don't think he does, but he's completely devastated. He runs away, puts on the spider suit, runs around beating up a bunch of criminals, just to, like let that energy out. And then he gets back home. Aunt May is gone, and MJ is there waiting for him. And she asks him like, "How you doing?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm doing all right." Just total lie. I mean, we've all been there. You don't want to tell someone like, "Oh, I'm terrible." But yeah, he tells her, "I'm doing all right," and then turn the page, and boom, he's completely fallen apart on the ground with her, and it's so I love it so much. It's such a great depiction of like how when you're at your most vulnerable point, there's only one thing you can really do to get through it. And yeah, I've been there. I feel for you, Peter. You know, I feel for you. Last but not least, side character, Harry Osborn, Norman Osborn's little boy. I like him a lot. I think he's pretty compelling. I don't really know where his story is gonna go. I don't know if he's gonna turn into a villain because, like, I don't really see how he could turn into a villain. He hates his dad so much already, and then he watches his dad turn himself into the Green Goblin. He watches his dad kill his mom and then try to kill him, and it's like, I really don't think there's any way he could get mad at Spider-Man for killing his dad, unless he's just a total psycho. But we'll see. I don't know. He moved to freaking California at the end of the volume, so I don't know. Um, Speaking of Norman Osborn, Green Goblin. Whoa. Before I get into Green Goblin and everything, I want to say that it's really cool how the first page isn't Peter Parker like waking up out of bed or something. It's Norman Osborn messing with the spider that bites Peter. It's kind of a cool foreshadowing as like these characters will be intertwined forever. Like the story will start with them, maybe it will end with them. I have no idea how this story ends, so we'll see. I hope I'm right. That'd be cool. Like I said in the Harry section, I'm interested in Harry returning as well as the Green Goblin. I want to see where those stories go. Because, yeah, at the end of this volume, the Green Goblin drowns. And, of course, he's not dead. Um, but yeah, I think I'm excited for that. And then the Green Goblin's design. Oh, my gosh. I love the Green Goblin's design. He's so cool. He's like this big. He's huge. First of all, he's absolutely massive. He's got this big cloak on, and he can shoot fireballs. He's like an OG fantasy goblin wizard thing. It's so awesome. I thought I'm loving that so much so far. That's why I really want to see more of him, just because he looks so cool. I also like how Norman becomes the Green Goblin, not because he's like. I mean, yeah, maybe it's a thirst for power. I couldn't really get that read, but it seemed to me like he wanted to make this miracle drug, whether it was for profit or what have you, because he's not a good guy. But he wanted to make this miracle drug, and no, he couldn't get human test subjects; it was too dangerous. So he uses himself, and I kind of see a little bit of myself in him as a like biology guy, but who will work in a lab one day. Put up that laboratory maniac Magic the Gathering card again, true. But yeah, I don't know. He's cool. I loved the Green Goblin in this volume. I really just it was a very enjoyable reading experience. And before I move on to the second volume, I want to note on how when I was first reading it, when Peter gets bit by the spider, everyone at Oscorp knows that Peter got bit by the spider and has superpowers now. And it's like, how's his identity a secret in this? And then, like, turn like 8 more pages and they're just, everybody in the lab is dead and the Green Goblin got made. I like that as a good little bit of problem solving. Speaking of Peter, I really liked his characterization in this volume. I think he's a good representation of like a teenage boy. You know, I read online somewhere, God, I'm just never going to look at Reddit again. I hate Redditors. They were like, he's so edgy. What are you talking? He's a teenage boy. Yeah, he's gonna be like rude and stuff, and like want to like disobey his caretakers. But yeah, I really liked Peter's whole shtick going on. He's going quip crazy, which is pretty fun. I didn't realize he quips that much, but I like it, and I like the excuses that he starts talking when he's stressed out. I think that's pretty fun. But I was a big fan of this volume. We'll talk about volume 2 in a second because I think I like volume 2 a little bit more. Look at this transition. Volume 2. I really, really liked volume 2. I was a huge fan of the Kingpin as a villain. I've never really seen something with the Kingpin as a villain, at least like this. I mean, in the animated Spider-Man movie, he's a good villain in that. Don't get me wrong. I love this version of him way more than that, though. Because in that one, he's like this sympathetic. And I mean, this is what all the modern Marvel movies are now. There's no true bad, like it's like no one's actually a bad guy. It's always morally gray, which is fine. But if everyone's morally gray, I don't care anymore, you know. But in the animated movie, he's like a family man. He's like, oh, I just want my kids back, and I'll destroy the world to get them. Which is cool. I liked it. But in this, he is a total psycho. He's a total psycho. He's like a super evil mob boss. I mean, he realizes Peter's a kid, so he throws him out of a window. Crushes one of his like subordinates' heads because he was bad mouthing him. He like sells drugs to kids. He's just a horrible guy. He's completely irredeemable. So Peter's gonna want to take him down. Like, I mean, it's his responsibility. He's got the power. So yeah, this volume was so good. It was better than the first one for sure. Let's jump into volume 2. So it starts off with a little look into Peter's day to day, where he's beating up a bunch of fodder villains. There's some dude named the Vibrator. That was pretty funny. And then I think he overhears Kong and all the, like, Flash Thompson, all the classmates talking about how the Daily Bugle wants pictures of Spider-Man. Ah. Or what does J. Jonah Jameson do? He's like that. Um, so we get a bit more of a formal look into the Daily Bugle. We see them in the last volume, and they actually talk about Kingpin. They reference Kingpin in it, which is pretty cool foreshadowing. We get to see a deeper dive into the Daily Bugle and its characters. I really like how Peter goes to them with the pictures just for some dough, but he doesn't get hired because he's a good photographer. I mean, he sucks. Like in the movie, I mean, why would he be a good photographer? He's a nerd, but not like a photography nerd, you know? He's a tech nerd. Like in the movies, when he actually tries to do real photography, it's like J. Jonah Jameson being like, crap, like throwing all of them away in Spider-Man 2. So they throw in, because this is like early 2000s, this chick is like, I can't figure out the computers. I hate technology. And Peter's like, I know technology. Nerd. So that was cool. I like that he gets hired to like run their website. It's a nice, a little bit more realistic, and especially like of the times. Because I know this was supposed to be like a modern update of Spider-Man. But now he's working at the Daily Bugle. He has access to their like databases and stuff. So he finds out about Kingpin and this like goofy flow chart of like the criminal that killed Uncle Ben all the way up to Kingpin. And then he is like, dang, now I gotta beat up Kingpin. Which I'll get into him at the end of the volume, like I did with the last one. I'm excited to talk about him. First, though, I said I'd talk about Aunt May again. I really liked Aunt May in Volume 2. She had one of the best scenes of it, of course. I like all the emotional scenes. But she had a scene of where Peter gets home late, and she's like, do you hate me? And, it's these, like, irrational things that you have to ask yourself and the people around you when you're this damaged and vulnerable after losing somebody. And I think it was really realistic. I liked how Peter wasn't he was able to convince her that he doesn't hate her, but he wasn't able to like put it into words, because like why would she think that, And it's just so nice. I love it so much. I like that all he can do is just give her a hug and help her cry, realistic. Wow. But I think I'll talk about it with the MJ stuff, but she's so sassy at the end and so funny. I love it so much. I mean, you can tell why Peter and Spider-Man are this sassy and quippy. It's from Aunt May, dude. But I'm going to get into that. With the MJ stuff. Kong. Flash Thompson's not even in this chapter, in this volume. Like he is, I don't care. Kong's my guy now. I like that Kong, he like answers questions in class. Pretty cool. Doesn't really do much else. There's not a lot of side character love in this one, except for one character. In my notes, I thought her name was Vicky, but it's Liz. When I was looking up stuff about Liz, I mentioned her in the last chapter for trying to get with Peter, making MJ mad. When I was looking up her name, I got spoiled on something about her, which is a bummer. But I do think she's a pretty compelling character. I don't know what's going on with her right now, because whenever Kong is raving about how much he loves Spider-Man, she just she hates it so much. And it's like, is her dad like one of the goons that he beat up and now she's poor or something? Who knows? I'm excited to see where Liz's little storyline goes. And there was that weird like school counselor that was like interviewing Peter and Liz. I don't really know what that was about. I don't know if that's going to turn to something later, but that was a weird scene to have. It might have just been a thing to get Peter and Liz to interact again, but we'll see. Next up is MJ. MJ got a lot of love in this volume. well, from the writers. But Peter like blows her off a few times. She builds up all this courage to ask him out at lunch. And Peter's like, "Yeah, of course." Of course, he doesn't realize he's being asked out because he's a teenage boy. I've done that. Um, and then he flakes on her, which I have not done that. But he flakes on her because he gets whooped by Electro and Kingpin, and he's like super beat up. And it's also like, why would you flake because you're like you got the brake speed off you? I guess that makes sense. But like you guys were going to the movies, you just gotta sit there, you know. Also, it's a terrible first date idea. Going to the movies on a first date, you can't even talk to each other unless you do, and you talk really loudly during Bullet Train and annoy the other two people in the back of the theater, and then one of them comes down and grabs you on the shoulder and tells you to shut up with a bunch more cuss words in it. Not that that's happened to me. but but yeah, unless it's that, then first date as a movie bad. But eventually Peter and MJ make up, and Peter tells MJ that he's Spider-Man, which I was like blown away. I was like, "What, already?" But it makes sense because we know that they've been friends for a while, and he doesn't want to lose a friend over this, which is nice. But I do like how she totally freaks out because I mean, the kid's a freak. He's like crawling on the walls to prove it. He's not even just doing like the hang from the ceiling thing from that new Spider-Man movie. He's just like crawling around like a little freak. But she thinks it's cool, which is cool, I guess. And then MJ barges in. She's like, "You have a call." And then she's like, "Why are they calling?" She's like, "Because I called them." And because she thinks they're doing like hanky panky upstairs. And oh, she's so funny. I love her so much. And then after MJ runs off, Peter's like, "What the freaking heck, Aunt May? We were about to kiss." And she's like, "Oh, I bet you were." And she starts trying to give him the talk. And it's so awkward and so fun. I think it's hilarious. I mean, I've been there as a teenage boy in both of those things, getting barged in on and trying to get the talk given to you. I mean, it's terrifying. I understand why Peter is like trying to literally physically run away from that conversation, but I love it so much. Aunt May is such a boss in this volume. I'm a big fan of her now, definitely. Now I'm gonna move into the main characters of this volume, Peter and Kingpin. I like Kingpin as a villain so much. He's just the total opposite of Peter. He has so much power and he's just a horrible person. Just such a complete stone cold killer mob boss. I wrote that in my notes. He just embodies pure evil. He's also massive. I feel so bad for Peter. Green Goblin and Kingpin so far are absolutely huge, and Peter, I swear they made him even smaller. Like he's this tiny little guy. But because he couldn't beat up Kingpin physically, we learned that in their first fight that he's just totally outclassed. I like that Peter takes him down using this, his dome, his brain. And I said it before, but I'll say it again. I absolutely love the Daily Bugle. This is kind of off track, but the scene where Peter confronts J. Jonah Jameson about why are you slandering Spider-Man? And Jameson gives him a little speech. Actually, I have it right here. Here we go. I grabbed it. Peter's asking him like, "Oh, why can't you give people a more well-rounded, or why can't you give Spider-Man a more well-rounded like evaluation in the news?" And he says, "Well-rounded? Let me give you a little lesson in human nature. People say they want well-rounded, but they don't. You ask someone, 'Do you want all the facts? Do you want the truth?' They say, 'Oh, of course, I demand it.' But they don't." Peter says, "They don't?" And Jameson says, "No. They want to read about a good guy and a bad guy. They want to cheer and they want to boo. People are sheep. They'll read what you give them." And Peter doesn't like that answer. But honestly, he's kind of right. Like, Jameson is not wrong here. I don't know what the media landscape looked like in the 2000s, but it might have been a little similar to what we got going on now, where it's like the two sides of politics in America are just hate each other just so much. Nobody wants a centrist story. They want to hear just a good guy and a bad guy. No gray area. So Jameson's not really wrong, I don't think. um, but back to my point, I love Daily Bugle so much, and they actually have a little MVP moment a little bit later on. And also, to all my viewers out there, be nice to people. It doesn't matter if they're on the other side of the political spectrum. They're humans too, and we all want the same thing. Don't be mean. Love. um. Anyway, yeah, the Daily Bugle is cool. I think it feels pretty natural how Peter would feel about the Kingpin. I mean, he's got the power, so it's his responsibility to take him down. Oh, but before we get to that, I do want to point out Peter has a monologue breaking into his fundraiser full of all these millionaires and stuff. Peter thinks, give me a break. All that tub of goo has taken from this city, the drugs, the thievery, the murder, he takes a piece of everything this side of the Midtown Tunnel. All the people around him who have disappeared, he writes a check in. Ta-da! He's one of the good guys. End quote. And it feels like you could swap out Kingpin for any billionaire or like big politician, and it's the exact same thing. They're terrible people. And the way that Peter defeats Kingpin, spoilers, is he releases tapes or files of this big bad rich guy doing big bad stuff, and then bad stuff actually happens to Kingpin. I wish that happened in real life, but what are you gonna do? Anyway, Peter breaks into Kingpin's house. He notices a little camera, and then gets the absolute brakes beaten off him and thrown out a window. I remember I literally wrote a note. He's so dead, haha. But thanks to his little sticky hands, he can escape. And after he escapes, he's absolutely thrashing himself. I mean, the way he talks about himself is so like negative and sad. And I kind of understand why, because he is doing all this stuff. He knows Aunt May is torn up about it. He knows he's ruining his relationship with MJ, but he knows he has the responsibility. He just can't tell them what he's up to. So when he fails, it hurts even more because he's wasting his time. But hopefully he picks himself up later, luckily. So he notices the camera, and he's like, using that big old brain, he makes a fake email, which they really gas up how and like shocking it is that he makes a fake email here. I think that's pretty goofy, but he realizes, oh, they store all this data, all the cameras, take all these recordings of what Kingpin gets up to. So he goes in his basement, tries to steal the recordings from him, and he absolutely demolishes everybody that he fights. He actually whispers in one of the goons' ears. Ox is the goon's name, and he's like, I think he notices that he doesn't really have his heart in the whole evil mob thing, and he's like, hey, get out of here. Go admit to the police, and you'll be fine. I'm gonna tear this whole place down. And I really liked that interaction. I liked Peter being nice to the little guy. I always love that. It kind of harkens back to the great power, great responsibility thing of like, he has the power to be nice here to this guy who deserves a second chance. So I like it. It's cute. But then eventually he has to fight Kingpin, and he whoops him because he realizes he can't actually beat him physically. He can just stall him and run away with his like web fluid. And while he's doing it, he gives him this big rambling thing about how he's like a horrible guy who sells drugs to kids and is gonna like rot in hell, which I love. But he also has a bunch of fat jokes. My two favorites are, "You're so fat that when you get on a scale it says 1 at a time," and "You're so fat that your belly button makes an echo." I really like those. Those are funny. EJ can attest to how I'm giggling to myself while I'm reading it in the library at school. I'm a big fan of him coming up with this unique way to defeat him. And then he does. Kingpin runs off to some little island for billionaires. Weird. And then Peter's like, Yahoo! I got to beat the bad guy, tell MJ I'm Spider-Man, and almost kiss her. And he does like, I have literally hit this move before. I remember, I think in 7th grade, I was texting one of my lady friends, and then she became my girlfriend that night. Yeah, 7th grade, big stuff. And I literally hit the same pose as Peter. I'm gonna like put it over there or something, where he like lays back and he's like, ah, just so happy. So I can relate to him there. I was a really big fan of this volume. I thought the second volume was better than the first. I mean, they're both great. I'm really excited to read more. Um, it's gonna take a while for me to get volume 3 and 4 in the mail. I think I saw the cover of volume 3 is like Doc Ock, so I'm excited for that. I remember he was in the first volume a little bit. And but yeah, I'm in love with all the characters and storylines so far. There's 3 big things that I'm like curious about right now. What's up with Peter's dad? What's up with Liz, the classmate lady, and what's Harry up to in California, and will he be back? Those are what I wanna figure out. I think that I'll keep reviewing stuff. I won't get volume 3 or 4 in the mail anytime soon, probably. So I might stick my head in a comic book shop and see, but I doubt it. I might review. I got some other comics, like a little comic run that I liked, or I'm like halfway through that I'm enjoying. I am reading a book, The Black Company, which is pretty long, but I could review like chapters of it or something. Or I haven't read any manga stuff lately, but I am like halfway through JoJo's Part 8, and I read stuff all the time. I know I've got a big pile back there. But and also I might review anime or movies, I don't know. Something. I'll try to keep flexing my creative muscles through this. Not just my big normal muscles. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. I enjoyed making this video. Not having to re-record everything, but at least my hair looks better now. But anyways, thanks for watching, especially if you got this far somehow. If you like the video, you can comment something or like it or subscribe. I can see that, and it makes me happy. And if you comment something, you can really comment anything. I'll try to respond. It makes me feel good. But yeah, that's about it. Have a nice day.